Hello, YouTube viewer. This is Mike Daly, and you're watching the Cut the Crap channel. So, I don't think I'm going to make this video public right away, but I did want to record it. Somewhat recently, I felt like the Lord, felt like the voice of the Lord said to me to stop tithing. I know this is going to be a bit controversial for you religious people, but let me break it down. So, anyway, right now, I would say I have kind of I wouldn't quite say that I'm poor, but I'd say I'm definitely kind of like lower working class. My main source of income is doing rideshare, Lyft, and Uber. So, and I pay child support. I don't really have. My ex-wife has been kind enough not to ever go to court for getting child support, even though at one point I was on that she didn't get any child support for me for probably about a year and a half, maybe, during which time I was in and out of homeless shelters. So, but anyway, now I've been sending her $500 a month, and so I've got an apartment that's Section 8. So I've got a bit of a subsidy to help me pay for it, which I guess some of y'all probably also have an issue with, but whatever, fuck you. But yeah. So anyway, last month, February, because with me, I'd been kind of going back and forth on this tithing thing. Last year, I really wasn't walking with the Lord. I don't know what happened, but 2018, I would say I started the year off okay, but I know one thing that's been a challenge for me the past number of years, since I got divorced again and I've been living with myself, is just living by myself. Being alone. That's just been hard for me. I don't know. And so, I don't know. One point last year, I think it was sometime in the spring, I was just having, I think I was kind of doing what I felt like I was supposed to be doing. But I just had these feelings of sadness. I couldn't shake it. And so I had the brilliant idea. I've never really drank liquor. I drank beer, but beer didn't seem to really do much for me. It's almost like I could just drink beer all night, but without really getting drunk. But liquor, I hadn't tried that before. Why don't I try drinking liquor and see what happens? And what do you know? I was able to get drunk if I would drink vodka. It took me a while to figure out which kind of liquor I would actually like, but I finally figured out, okay, I seem to like the pineapple flavored vodka, and the cheapest one is this Taka, Taaka. If that one, I can't find that. There's also a Burnett's that's pretty cheap. After that, I guess I got to get Smirnoff, but, so, anyway, so last year, I guess you could say I got kind of addicted, to drinking, my typical pattern, my typical day was I'd get up kind of late, I'd go, early afternoon, I go do rideshare, do that till maybe around 11 or midnight or so. Come home and get drunk, beer and vodka, and go to bed. And then to make it worse, and I recorded another video on this. there was a game I used to play called Marvel Countess to Champions that I quit because I found it to be a highly addictive game that I spent an inordinate amount of time on. And so under the influence of alcohol, I had the brilliant idea, hey, let me download this game again, So soon I'm addicted to the game again, and yeah, I was easily spending 3 hours a day on that game. So, so for a lot of last year, that was pretty much the one good thing I did last year was I started taking improv and kept up with that, despite getting drunk at night so much and whatever, but yeah, so, anyway, so I don't know, I think I recorded in another video how finally, New Year at some point in January, I was like driving, I was trying to get enough money to pay my rent. It'd been like so, okay, like my rent is, okay, it's due on the 1st. It's considered late on the 5th, although now I think it's the 4th. But they don't actually, I think, process it until like the 6th or maybe the 7th. And I was so tight that, like, okay, I'd have to write out the check before I had made the money for my rent. And so I guess one night, so January, I don't know, I guess it's maybe the 6th, I was working I was working like a Hebrew freaking slave, I was like out, all night, all through the night, and then even in through the morning till about noon, until I got enough money, so I had enough money in my account for my rent, and literally, and then they took the rent out that day, and I literally had something like 21 cents left in my account after they took, cashed my rent check. So, but I don't know, something that, and all last year while I was going through this, I had I'd pray it, and I'd go to bed, oh Lord, please, I know I'm not doing right, please, save me from this, or get me to repent, or something. And so that night, I guess he did. That something in me finally snapped and yielded to the Lord, and I deleted that game. I still kept playing the game for about a week, but I was trying to more moderate it, and which I did to some degree, but finally I realized, I can't even do this in moderation. This I have to completely get rid of this game because and the drinking, at the time I dumped out the rest of my vodka, but, this year I have been drinking some, especially, lately with this woman that I've been having very strong feelings for, dealing with that whole situation. It's been causing pretty strong emotions and sadness, and I will say I have resorted to drinking alcohol in order to numb my emotions. But I don't think that's going to be like a continuous thing like it was last year. So, anyway, I know some of you have just totally lost, like you were listening, oh, this guy's a freaking alcoholic. I'm not going to listen to anything he has to say. Well, fuck you too. Okay. Yeah, profanity too. Another reason not to listen. Okay, so anyway, I finally get right with the Lord in January. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, shit, I guess I need to tithe, because that's, you're taught that in church, that, they really hammer away at it. The church I visited, I was actually going to, last year, that, Pastor's Roy Barrett. Oh, I'll just say what church it is. It was Roy. I mean, I don't have a problem with the church. It was Roy Barrett, Discovery Life Church in Norcross, and I mean, Roy's a good guy. I mean, I don't have a big problem with Roy, you know. I guess I did end up leaving there, and what I had emailed Roy about it was that, I just didn't really feel like the people there, like, this was my tribe, that's something he would talk about, and, so, like, just felt like it wasn't really where I belonged, so, but I remember one Sunday, I think it was I don't know, I guess it was another pastor that I think Roy, I don't know, sort of like Roy's overseer or something, but and he was talking about tithing and like, and people, excuses people make for not tithing, and it's like, well, do you really want to be under a curse? And he's referencing to Malachi, where that's what these pastors always go back to friggin' Malachi. Like if you don't tithe, you're robbing God, you're under a curse, and so anyway, February I said, okay, it's time for me to take this seriously and tithe. And now, most of my life I have made pretty decent money, so tithing hadn't really been that hard. Like, I could do it without it really being causing a whole lot of stress on me. But right now, with tithing, that 10%'s a big deal. Like, when you're just kind of barely getting by, and then you add, now you got to tithe 10%. I mean, that can put you over the edge. So, what I started to do to make sure that, because, what could happen, and like as a Uber driver, like as a rideshare driver, I'm always able to cash out my earnings. Like I could do it every day. But then I'm paying bills. And so I got, I needed to make sure, that I don't, because, I'm sure a lot of you realize, it's quite easy. You could spend your money on your bills, and then you're like, oh, well, shit, now I don't have any money left to pay my tithe. So I would make sure, and then there's the whole first fruits thing. You got to pay your tithe before anything else. So I'd be like, anytime I cashed out, how I would figure it, I figured, okay, with the cash out, I'm going to say 80% of that is what my really actual earnings is, because, there's other expenses but mostly the wear and tear on your car. So I don't, so I would take 80%, then I'd take 10% of the 80%, and then I'd go ahead and I'd give that somewhere right away, through PayPal or whatever, and so I was doing that pretty diligently. Until I was getting to the end of the month of February. End of the month has been tough for me for some months because, one, I've actually been behind on paying my child support. I was paying it, sending it to my ex at the beginning of the month, and then at one point last year, I got behind, and so now it's like I've been sent it to the end of the month, and I'm don't want to, I feel like, okay, I don't want to, and so I'd at least been making sure, okay, I send her the child support before I start worrying about paying for my rent for the next month. And so it's okay, so I have $500, then for the rent, I'd have another $500 I got to get. So when I got to that point, I guess my faith was no, I'm going to stop tithing I'm going to stop doing this immediate tithing for now until I get this shit paid. And it was tough. Got it paid. And then I'm oh shit, now I'm behind on I owe, my tithing is it's $100 I got to pay. And I just felt guys, will you just forget about this shit? and I'm like, I guess I felt like the Lord said, just don't worry about it, And so I'm not worrying about it. And I know some of you are just, you're robbing God. I don't know. That's what I felt like the Lord said to me. And I feel like, okay, see, the thing is, we make it a rule. And God just does not like rules. He does not like us doing things because we make it a rule that we have to do it. That's what the whole old covenant was based on. Here's a whole bunch of fucking rules. If you follow all these fucking rules, you'll be okay. But God knew we wouldn't follow them. I mean, the whole point of it was so that we would realize we can't follow the rules, that we're fucked up. That was the whole point. So... So I'm just, I'm still giving some. There's this guy, Marshall Rancifer, homeless advocate in Atlanta. So sometimes I've been given to him just so he can buy stuff like blankets and whatnot for the homeless for what he does, and give like a little bit of my church. But right now I'm not worried about the whole tithing thing. Tithing technically... Okay, if you look at the Old Testament law, the poor were not required to tithe. Now, how do you define what poor is? Who is poor? And, I guess one thing you could say, okay, if you're not making a living wage, then, okay, you could go by, the official government poverty index, whatever the fuck it is, which is really low. Another way to look, some say, there's the whole fight for 15, okay, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. So you could say, well, okay, if you're not making at least 15 an hour, then you could say you're poor. But I'm thinking even at 15 an hour, I think that's still poor. You have if you're working 40 hours a week, $15 an hour, that's $30,000 a year. That's not a whole lot of money. I think, really, I think the minimum wage we need to be fighting for maybe 25 an hour, because I think the productivity, if the wages were to increase along with productivity, that means, okay, that's how much money your employer is making off of your labor. And so if we go by productivity, then the minimum wage should be something like $23 an hour by now, if you factor in inflation and everything. So, and so I figure, okay, I'm like a Uber, Lyft driver, no benefits. I got wear and tear on my. So maybe I do qualify as poor. I'm just this whole legalistic thing about tithing is just, and I think the other side of it is, I guess this is how God is dealing with me now, because I've had times where I think like back in 2015. Because I've always heard these stories about somebody just gave everything they had, and then something miraculous happened where they got some great new job or something, or they got some check in the mail or something like that. And so I know at one point I was trying to give all the money I had because I wanted to see God move, but what I realized was it was like I was almost trying to manipulate God. It was okay, well, since I've done this, God, okay, you have to move. You have to, bless me. And he's like, no, I don't. Fuck you. I didn't tell you to do that. That was you. So, anyway, and I think if you must have a rule, I don't have the scripture reference for this, but it's when Paul, one of his letters, he says let no one give out of compulsion, but let him give according to as he has purposed in his heart, for God loves a cheerful giver. So, You know, if you're tithing because you think God's going to curse you if you don't give 10% of your income, I'm sorry, that's giving under compulsion. So screw that. You know, you should now if you're like well off. I mean, if you've got like a good income and you know you're not struggling to pay your bills, then yeah, then I'd say, I mean, I'd say the point is, if you really love the Lord, then you should be giving. And if you look at what you're giving, if it's not even 10% the tithe, then you're doing well. I mean, I'd say maybe look at your own heart, because, you know, the Old Testament law, that was like kind of like the bare minimum. And it's like, well, why is it you aren't moved to even like give the bare minimum? You know, it's like, so, you know, and I don't know, you know, God may deal with me differently in the future. I mean, he may say for me to do really just on faith, give money beyond the tithe, and I don't see how I can like pay my rent, and he just wants me to take it on faith, but I don't hear him saying that right now, and I'm not going to just independently do that just to try to, you know, show how much faith I have or something. So anyway, I guess that concludes the video for today. I would appreciate your comments, and please subscribe to my channel and also click the bell so you'll be informed when I release future videos.